Whatever you do. Oh, wait, let me do the TikTok thing. Look at me, I'm holding a friggin' lapel microphone like a loser. What's up, ladies and boll weevils? It's time for another Rollin' Rambles. This time it's about GamerGate 3.0 with GamerGate Top Speed Technology. God, that's an old reference. God, you gotta be at least like 35 to even get that. Anyway, collective shout. Everybody hates collective shout because they deserve it. To be perfectly honest, collective shout are probably the new Jack Thompson. They are a giant cancer upon the gaming world. And this has not garnered them much sympathy from the internet. See, back in the mid-2010s, Collective Shout, this Australian feminazi organization, got Grand Theft Auto something or another pulled from Australian shelves. Like, the game was pulled from retail sale in Australia. And this was like their big deal at the time. Woohoo! We got this evil game pulled from shelves. This is misogynistic and herpaderp. And the thing is, it didn't get that much attention. Like, it was a brief blip, but most people didn't care. Because let's be honest, Australia is not most people. But now they have affected the entire globe. Now their reach has gotten worldwide. And now a much more serious issue that I've been talking about for years, and that many other people have actually been talking about for years, has finally come into the limelight. And that is middlemen controlling what you can do. In fact, it's so bad that, since a board of directors has a tendency to have, I think, between like 5 and 14 people or something, but I think the average is 7. I'm pulling those numbers completely out of my ass. But I was thinking about calling the video 14 people who control everything you're allowed to buy on the internet. Because that is, in fact, what is going on. Visa and Mastercard can effectively control what you are allowed to purchase. But here's the problem. You look at a purchase, all right? I have a thing that you want to buy. You find out about the thing. You are interested. You would like to buy it. You want to give me money, and I want to give you product in exchange for that money. And if this transaction goes through, we both get something we want. Everybody wins in this transaction. There's just one little snafu. I'm in North Carolina. You're in California. Or why are you in California? Move somewhere else. But let's just say Mississippi, whatever. You could even just be in South Carolina. It's far enough away from where I am. So you're in South Carolina, I'm in North Carolina. And us good old Carolina boys, I wrote this good old fashioned, this like kinky, sexy game thing about, I don't know, boots that have retractable dildos in them. And you would like to see this bizarre, strange, interesting, and perhaps titillating video game about dildo boots. And for some reason, you would like to give me money for that. But you know what? Since we're far apart, we've got to find some other way to exchange money than you hand me cash. So, how do you pay me for my game? Let's talk about it. PayPal. Maybe I offer it through something like Patreon, which offers like a monthly subscription. Steam. There are all kinds of ways that you could potentially purchase my game. Maybe I put it through, maybe I got it on GOG or any given marketplace. It doesn't really matter. You want to purchase my game. Now, what is the common thread that isn't me and isn't you, regardless of the marketplace that we choose to perform this mutually beneficial Dildo Boots transaction? It is Visa and Mastercard. The vast majority of internet commerce is gatekept by Visa and Mastercard, offering their services to whoever it is that is facilitating the transaction. So, for example, I have a credit card reader in my pocket right now. I can plug it in my phone, and it goes through my credit card service of choice so that I can read your card and take your money through that. that relies on my payment processor. It could be Stripe, it could be PayPal, it could be Square, it could be Clover, but all of them rely on their relationship with Visa and or Mastercard continuing to exist, lest they be cut off from the global payment network that these two, forming an effective duopoly, control. Now, it's not a natural duopoly, it's just that it was convenient and they didn't get in the way. However, now Visa and Mastercard are very noticeably getting in the way, and it's not that they've not done this before. They have in fact gotten in the way before. But let's talk about a traditional transaction again, and how would someone get in the way? They can either stop me from being able to give you money, or they stop you from being able to ask for money for the thing in the first place. You basically prevent you from selling the thing. So those are their two options for censorship. Now, if I want to give you my money and you want to take my money, we have to ask somebody with an electronic payment system to take the money from me and give the same money to you. That's usually Visa and MasterCard because they're so big. Now, if it was an in-person transaction, someone could walk up and start shouting at us and try to slap the money out of my hand and get arrested. Or take the money out of my hand and get arrested. Or take your product and get arrested. Or any number of combinations of this person trying to interfere in our mutually beneficial transaction ends with them getting arrested, basically. They could also petition the government to have the government shut them down, shut me down from selling the product, or make it illegal for you to have the product in the first place. Notably, and it's a little weird example, but it's the first thing that came to mind, child sex dolls, which really is just defined as short sex dolls that might emulate a childlike stature. Those are banned in several jurisdictions in the United States. And regardless of your feeling on them, the point is there are people that exist that want to buy them. And I am of the libertarian view that if someone wants to buy a silicone doll and boink that instead of kids, I think that that's the better option. I don't buy the escalation rhetoric, especially since there is some science that says it's not true. But I'd just rather somebody take care of their stuff than go hurt kids. But that's beside the point. The point is that if they want to buy it, the government can say no. In fact, it's illegal for you to even have it. And if somebody sells it to you, that's illegal because it's illegal for you to have it. It becomes contraband, and it gets really legally murky for you to even own the thing. So you cannot have it. It's just not an option. That would be the government interfering. But if the government interferes, you can call your congressperson and complain. You can file a lawsuit of your own and complain. But going after the payment card processors that are supposed to take your money and give it to me so I can give you dildo boots, that's a bit of a different story because there is no recourse for me. You are engaging in a transaction that's not big enough to justify a lawsuit, and I wouldn't make enough money off of it necessarily to pay for a lawsuit. So they kind of pull the grab you by the balls thing where instead of me having a problem where I want to sell you this thing and I can't do it directly, instead I just have no marketplace where I can sell it to you. Because the payment card processors will not allow whoever it is that has payment card processing, it's called a merchant, a person who can swipe a card or key in a card and get money out of it, they will not allow that to be sold through them. And this is sort of the insidious problem, is that we're not talking about child sex dolls. We're talking about a 100% legal game that would be sold to an adult by an adult, and they're interfering in that 100% legal transaction out of a bogus moral whatever. There is plenty of proof that these companies have no moral compass, as they have actively funded payments for actual child sexual exploitation. Visa and MasterCard have had no problem in the past taking money for actual sex trafficking, actual child exploitation. But when it comes to Dildo Boots because some feminist group all the way in Australia wrote some nastygram letter because they're psycho and sent it to Visa or Mastercard or whoever it was they sent it to. Now, nobody in the world is allowed to sell this game that I have made, Dildo Boots. I can't put it on any marketplace to sell it. I probably can't even use my own credit card merchant account to sell it because the payment processor has applied morality to my legal transaction. But it's your money. And it's my product that I want to give you for your money. They are not blocking you from buying it, but they are blocking you from buying it by preventing it from being purchasable. It's sort of a 6 of one, half dozen of the other sort of thing. They like to say that, no, this isn't censorship. We're just, they're benefiting from bad thing. From thing that we use extremist language to describe, therefore bad thing. And this is another thing, and I mean to address it separately in another video, but pedophile is the new racist. Remember, in the 2010s, if you're old enough to remember all this political crap back then, when SJWs and feminism were the big enemy, GamerGate 1.0 was the thing. If you remember this era, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody, everything, racist, sexist, all the time. All you would see, accusations of racism and sexism. If somebody said something that was in opposition to some psychotic feminist group, 10 old hags complaining that their roast beef dried out, then they would get on the internet, they would say, this person is a rapist, sexist, pedophile, whatever. And they wouldn't say pedophile. They would just call them a racist and a sexist and say that they were being abusive, and they would extrapolate everything out in the worst possible way. They'd take tweets that were 10 years old and try to say, look how bad this person is. It would cause other people on the internet that were also psychos to see it and get riled up. And you get what we call a cancel mob. Cancel culture came from all this. So cancel culture, just a little bit of a review here. Cancel culture, or canceling, or cancel mob, whatever. Cancellation in this context is when you go out of your way to find something or some things about someone that you can exploit, potentially in extreme bad faith, reinterpret in the least good faith manner possible. For example, old tweets. Find any ammunition you can to have an internet mob ruin a person's life, ruin their family connections, potentially lose their job, call in threats to their home, lose relationships, any kind of damage that you can do. And that's cancellation. It's often confused, because leftists want you to be confused by this, with boycotts. Now, I said leftists, but I don't want any leftists that are watching this to get the wrong idea. You see, I'm not exactly a right-winger myself, so I have a big problem with porn games being censored. Now, there are a lot of really weird people that think that porn games and porn in general just shouldn't exist, or that they shouldn't be available, or that the mere existence of children somehow means that adults shouldn't be able to acquire adult material from other adults. And that's bullshit. If you hold these opinions, you're a stupid psycho, and I really don't care what you think, because you obviously do not think clearly. I don't really feel the need to refute any bullshit that you say, just because it's very obviously wrong. We have already decided a long time ago as a society that an adult and another adult consenting to things in general is okay. Even if it's not something you like, even the courts have said that in the privacy of one's own home, you enjoy a much higher standard than you would enjoy if you were doing something in public, or in public view, or even just like somewhere tangential to the public. But in your own bedroom, the government has a much lower right to intrude and judge you, basically. And no joke, I don't know the court case behind this, or cases, but it has been adjudicated all the way up to the Supreme Court that what you do in the privacy of your own home is basically the most sacred thing, and thus the government gets the absolute least privileges to scrutinize it, especially if you're doing it alone. Because, I mean, do I really have to explain that? If you're just sitting in your bedroom doing nothing, you obviously aren't harming anyone. It's pretty clear that you can't apply a principle of harm, so where's the crime? And even if it would be a crime, well, how did you know that they were, for example, sodomy laws? How did you know that they were doing that in their bedroom? Thus, you would have had to invade their privacy to such a degree that it wouldn't be reasonable. So yes, even the highest court in the United States has said that you can pretty much just do whatever you want behind closed doors, and the government can't just show up and be like, we think you might be doing this, so we get to dig through all your trash. But that doesn't stop cancel culture mobs from digging through your trash to find something that they can reinterpret. A classic example would be back in the 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s, racist jokes were actually allowed to be funny. So I don't know what that movie was. I think it was Meet the Parents. Was it Meet the Parents? It was the movie where it's the white guy and he's dating a black girl and he's having a meal with him, and the black girl's dad convinces him to tell a racist joke at the table, and he's I think it was like, what can't you what 3 things can't a black person get? And it was like damn, I don't remember. A fat lip, a job. I don't remember the other one, but a job was the last one. And then the dad gets mad and is all like, you know, let me at him. I'm going to beat his ass. And it was pretty funny, but that's the thing. It was allowed to be funny back then. I think my air conditioner is drying me out. I'm very sorry. So because 15 years ago you were allowed to tell a racist joke and everybody would laugh it off and they wouldn't assume that it was some sort of personal attack based on someone's actual race, but it was just a joke, you diminish the power of racism by making it into a joke, making it something that everyone laughs at and we move on. Because we were that advanced as a society and we've regressed over the past 15 years, unfortunately, that means that if someone goes back 8 years into your tweets and you told that racist joke, oh, now you're a racist. Look at this racist, evil piece of crap. He probably thinks black people aren't human, blah, 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 blah. You know, and it just gets extrapolated out to the most extreme degree. Well, that's what Collective Shout has done. And I'm so tired of this. I am exhausted of this. I thought that we had won this war. I thought that people were no longer susceptible to moron, cancel culture, feminist psychopaths. I thought that the SJWs and the wokies that wanted nobody to have fun and anybody who looked better than them to not be able to have a good time, I thought that we had agreed that these people have serious problems and they need to be put in a cage, not listened to for setting public policy. But unfortunately, it seems that I am not correct. And we're right back into the frickin' rabbit hole that we were in back in the early 2010s when Atheism Plus and then GamerGate dropped. Yeah, Atheism Plus, Donglegate, GamerGate. Those are the things. If you don't know, look them up. But we're right back there. That is where we are. We are at GamerGate version 3. I don't even remember what 2 was. It was a blip by comparison. But we're now on the 3rd iteration of a GamerGate-like event, where gamers rise up and decry some assholes that are trying to ruin everything just because that's the only thing that they can do. Collective Shouts run by some old hag named Melinda Tankard Reist, R-E-I-S-T. And there's some psychos named like Caitlin or something. But there are a few people that are involved, and they're all these Australian old hags with dried up egg cartons. Melinda in particular is like 65. You can tell that they're bitter old cat ladies that need more wine than I could ever chug in my life. And yeah, they're awful people. And that's why they don't want you or anyone else to have any fun. And nobody's saying this. Nobody, like, there are people in tweets, but tweets don't mean anything. And that's why I'm making a video instead. These people, Collective Shout, they are effectively rapists. They are economic rapists. No one consented to them barging in, wrecking the place, and then having their way with everyone around them. But they did it anyway. Collective Shout are economic rapists. You can quote me on that. I don't care, because I've been saying it on Twitter all day. Another fun thing I've been doing, I've been posting underneath all their posts a link saying that the classic Japanese rape simulator game Rapeplay, it's literally spelled like it sounds, here's a link to it on YaTorrents. Collective Shout wants you to have this. You know, since they don't want you to buy it, here, you can get your own for free. So effectively all their posts are now distributing a really old, honestly, nothing burger of a Japanese 3D supposed, like, it's a rape simulator game. Not a particularly good one. The whole point of the game was never really what the title was. It was more sensational than that. But it turned out it wasn't really nearly as shocking. Honestly, some of the stuff that same company came out with later is more shocking than that game turned out to be. But all flew under the radar, because guess what wasn't in the title? That's how stupid these people are that we're dealing with. They see the title, they assume that the title is everything they need to know, and there was a big controversy, and here we are today. It's a nothing burger, and it continues to be. But yeah, so I've been slapping that underneath every post they make on X, Twitter, whatever, just because I think it's extremely funny that now they are indirectly distributing rape simulator games. Don't let them find out, by the way. This is a secret between you and me, guys. Whatever you do... Oh, wait, let me do the TikTok thing. Look at me, I'm holding a friggin' lapel microphone like a loser. Whatever you do, don't tell Collective Shout. Don't tell them at the end of the game Rapeplay, the guy that assaulted the girls, they murder him. But don't let that nuance be lost. Okay, don't tell anybody about that. That's our little secret, just like the little trees that Bob Ross draws. And if you ever tell anyone, I'm going to come to your house and Unilever you. Oh, God, this censorship machine in full effect again, huh? Not really. I just figure I've said too many naughty words and YouTube's not going to be happy with the subject matter. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks to be in the time when the social justice lunatics are coming back out of the woodwork and they're going to do bad things to us without our consent. It sucks that what Louis Rossman calls the rapist mentality has come to the intermediates for video games. It sucks that payment processors won't shut up and take my money. I want a few things, and I'm going to be pretty strong about this because I'm tired of people pussyfooting around and not being completely honest about this. I want Visa and Mastercard to die. The two payment processors, they must be completely shut down because this cannot stand. But that'll never happen. Barring that, there is a law going through the House and Senate right now. It's called, I believe, the Fair Access to Banking Act. And there's both House and Senate versions. I think the Senate one, or maybe the House one, is Bill number 987, HR 987. If you're in the U.S., call up your congresspeople. Go to whoaremyrepresentatives.org and tell them you support this bill and want to see it passed into law immediately. What it does, I actually read the text because it's stupidly short. What this bill does is it says, if I want to make a legal transaction and the other person wants to make a legal transaction, a financial provider, a financial service, cannot block the transaction on any basis other than objective risk-based analysis. So if I want to buy Dildo Boots, or you want to buy Dildo Boots, then Visa can't say no. Your bank can't say no. They could say no if they think that you buying Dildo Boots will result in the imminent murder of someone, or they think that, Dildo Boots is a gun and not a video game about boots with retractable silicone male phallus things. But yeah, oh God, should I make this game? This is getting weird, dude. Oh, but you got to call them and tell them that you support this bill. And that way, at least in the U.S., this problem would be over. Like, seriously, if this bill got passed, it doesn't just stop this thing where Visa and MasterCard force PayPal or Stripe or whoever to apply moral codes of some sort to transactions where they have nothing to do with it but take money out of one hand to other hand. Oh, yeah, and they slice off a little cut for themselves. Oh, we got to protect our brand? Bullshit. Nobody thinks about Visa and MasterCard. All they think about is payments are being done. The only people who thought about Visa and MasterCard is collective shout because they recognized a weakness in the system and exploited it. But this bill goes so much further than just stopping that. This bill effectively also stops debanking in general. A bank can't just cut someone off just because someone else says, oh, they're bad, you should stop servicing them. A lot of people have lost access to basic services just because they've been like unpersoned by some hotshot in some financial place somewhere. And even if they open new accounts at new places, even those new accounts end up getting flagged somehow. One example of this, and I feel like this guy is sort of a litmus test for all of the weaknesses of our digital society, is Joshua Moon, also known as Null, the guy who created and runs Kiwi Farms. Now, regardless of your opinion of Kiwi Farms, the point is Joshua Moon is a litmus test for how society treats people that are on the edges of what is deemed acceptable, in the legal, but perhaps not always considered moral by some area. And it's a bit of a problem when, it's one thing if one bank is like, we won't do business with you. It's another when all banks and all services won't do business with you. And that's kind of a problem. See, even a person that is considered the most reprehensible in existence should still have access to banking. Basic, like fundamental features of our society, they should be available to everyone. Everyone should have access to basic, you can't be on the internet without and purchase something without some kind of credit card credit card number with which to make the purchase. Most places don't take Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, take your pick. Most places don't take crypto. You can't push cash into your cable modem and get, cash out on the other end. So because of this, you don't have a choice but to use an electronic payment system. And there's a reason the Brazilian Pix payment system is so popular. It doesn't have this problem. It's just sort of a universal. Now, granted, a system like Pix has its own problems, but one of those problems is not that it randomly just decides that you can't buy this product because morals. And honestly, I'm going to wind this down, but I want to bring it all back to one more thing that I've mentioned in previous videos, but I think a lot of people miss when talking about any of this kind of debanking or inability to spend your money on a product you want to buy and they want to sell you. These things all realistically started with Barack Obama and Operation Choke Point. Operation Choke Point was an adjudicated unconstitutional. The Supreme Court said this was not constitutional and they weren't supposed to do it. But the effects happened whether it was or not, because they still got away with doing it. The unconstitutional Operation Choke Point, basically they walked into banks and they said, okay, well, we're the government and we understand that guns and kinky novels and this whole list of businesses like massage parlors and maybe some gambling and fortune tellers, whatever. There's like 100 business categories that were part of the list, I think. But Operation Choke Point, the government showed up to the banks and said, here's a list of financially risky industries. And we are the government, so we can't tell you, bank, that you can't do business with these people. However, we are also the government, and we can royally screw up your life just by auditing the crap out of you and making it so you can't make money because you're too busy complying with our auditing demands and regulatory blah, blah, blah. And so we will apply greater scrutiny. Read, we'll bury you in paperwork and you won't make money and you'll be forced to shut down if you do too much business with these kind of things. So maybe don't do business with these things so that we don't have to audit you and bury you in the sand underneath a mound of paperwork and effectively shut you down as a bank. It was unconstitutional, but what are you going to do if the government shows up at the door and says, we can't shut you down, but if you don't do what we want, we'll shut you down? I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like paying taxes. A lot of people think that income tax is illegal, that it was never properly ratified or whatever, that blah, 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 apportionment, take your pick. But at the end of the day, you know, the guy who's standing there with the firearm from the IRS, well, it doesn't matter what you think about income tax. The guy that's holding the gun and pointing it at you, that's the boss. That's the guy who has the final say. Because at the end of the day, violence is the only way that you can, force is the only means by which you have a right. So the government has a monopoly on force, so the government can abuse you in an unlimited way. Regardless of the Second Amendment, we've allowed it to be eroded. And I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds on that because I don't think a lot of you really need me to say it, or I think a lot of you probably already understand, and it's not the subject of this anyway. The entire point of this is that we have hit GamerGate 3, and it's not just gamers. This has already been a problem for well over a decade. It can all be traced back to Obama's Operation Choke Point, and ever since then, things have gone downhill. It's been a problem with PayPal and risque novels back in like 2014, I think. It's been a problem with cancel culture, SJWs, feminists, and then the debanking that eventually came out of that. So this has been going for a long time, but finally we've hit this critical mass, and there's a law in the United States that will end the problem once and for all, and we need to get behind it. And if it happens in the United States, make no mistake, if that lands in the United States, it will land in Japan, where they've been having this problem. They kind of had it in advance of us. They've had more censorship through payment processors than we have. But now that it's hitting U.S. gamers, people don't like it. If we get it here, they get it there. If we get it here, hell, I don't know. Maybe Australia will see the error of their ways and pass something like that there and stop interfering in the market. That's never going to happen. Australia is so screwed. What the hell is wrong with you people down there? Why are Australians such cucks? I don't get it. God, I mean, I understand that you people are upside down and that hanging from the earth by your sky hooks on your hands is difficult, but come on. Come on, Aussies, you sent us Crocodile Dundee. Now send us something just as good. Anyway, I'm going to let this go. Have a wonderful whatever time of day it is. Thanks for listening, and take care.
Go, go, ready, go!